Hi, here's Claude again. I want you to know I'm in something of a quandary about this hat versus my gray hair. Now, listen to what Proverbs 16:31 says. The silver-haired head is a crown of glory if it is found in the way of righteousness. So I just probably ought to keep my cap on. Well, here we go. Joseph, Part 3, the prophetic years. And this has been quite a little journey for me. But this part is going to be a little more brief than the others. But yet, perhaps it's more important. Several things come together in this segment. The whole of Joseph's life is a picture of the outworking of God's sovereign purposes. In raising up Joseph to rule, Pharaoh acknowledged that the Spirit of God, we say the Holy Spirit, was upon Joseph, directing his steps and giving him godly wisdom in all his doings. Therefore, it would not be too much to conclude that Joseph's pattern of dealing with the 7 years of plenty and the subsequent 7 years of famine, or the principles derived therefrom, might be useful in the future, maybe just prior to and during the end-time tribulation. Now, as for all his dealings, intrigue, and machinations between Joseph and his brothers, it all seemed necessary to get their father Jacob and the entire family to Egypt. In fact, after revealing himself to his brothers, Joseph says, "But now do not therefore be grieved or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here for God. For God sent me before you to preserve life." That's Genesis 45:5. From the families being settled in the land of Goshen, a most favored piece of real estate in Egypt, with Pharaoh's blessing, and numbering only 70 persons, they would come out 400 or 430 years later, a nation 2.5 million strong. For perspective, consider it has been almost 400 years, actually 398, from the time of the Pilgrims landing in the northeast part of America to the present. Now, during the remaining 5 years of famine, Joseph would go ahead and purchase both the land and people of Egypt for Pharaoh. This actually seems incidental to Jacob's final blessing of his sons, which carries eternal implications. Only slightly less significant is Joseph's final words of comfort and assurance to his brothers after Jacob's death and burial. For even now they were still suffering the ravages of a corporate guilty conscience, thinking Joseph might yet turn on them. His response to their entreaties, "Do not be afraid, for am I in the place of God? But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring it about as it is this day, to save many people alive. Now therefore, do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones." And he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. Genesis 50:19 through 21. Thus ends the days of Joseph.